There was one exception to this practice. Harding had scheduled a meeting with the nation's governors to discuss prohibition enforcement, and in keeping with his pledge to carry out the Harding agenda, Coolidge attended. Pennsylvania's Governor Gifford Pinchot, a passionate supporter of prohibition, felt that Coolidge's stated willingness to enforce the Volstead Act according to the letter of the law was not strong enough, and a sign that he secretly opposed the measure. Pinchot and others also knew that Coolidge had represented brewery interests in Northampton, and that he had their support when he ran for mayor in 1909. Pinchot voiced his disappointment, which resulted in prohibitionist meetings and a call for Pinchot to challenge Coolidge for the 1924 presidential nomination. Failing in this, they urged him to consider a run for the presidency on a prohibitionist ticket. If something as slight as this could result in a challenge, Coolidge must have thought, what might a confrontation with Congress prompt? Coolidge had clashed with Pinchot before. In 1921, the United Mine Workers Union in Pennsylvania had signed a contract with the operators which neither side liked, and there had been a strike the following year in which 500,000 miners left the pits, not to return until September. At the time Coolidge took office, discussions were being conducted between the operators and the union, which was headed by John L. Lewis. Pinchot and representatives of the United States Coal Commission had attempted mediation, with no success. Pinchot urged the operators to raise wages, then $4.20 to $5.60 a day, and permit a check-off of union dues. The operators wouldn't budge on either matter. Coolidge met with Darty to find out whether he had any responsibility in this situation, and was told he could do nothing until there was an actual strike. According to Senator George Pepper of Pennsylvania, Coolidge summoned his temporary secretary, George Christian, and said, "Mr. Christian, it is about time for many people to begin to come to the White House to discuss different phases of the coal strike. Whenever anybody comes, if his special problem concerns the state, refer him to the governor of Pennsylvania. If his problem has a national phase, refer him to the United States Coal Commission. In no event bring him to me." Pinchot contacted the president on August 15, asking for his intercession, but Coolidge refused to act. It might have seemed a larger version of the police strike, and Coolidge was only following the pattern set down on that occasion. But the situation in the coal matter was not remotely like that in Boston in 1919. Pinchot not only was a more astute politician than Mayor Peters, but also had a constituency aching for a confrontation. The progressive Republicans had threatened to bolt the 1920 convention. A party split might easily occur were Coolidge to anger Pinchot sufficiently. On August 23, Pinchot again telephoned Coolidge to inform him that wildcat walkouts had already begun, and that he was prepared to act in the situation if nothing was forthcoming from the White House. Coolidge invited him to Washington, where the two men, together with Coal Commissioner John Hayes Hammond, discussed the situation. Although later accounts differ, it seems Coolidge proposed to order an investigation into conditions at the mines and, if necessary, provide mediation services. In any event, Pinchot left Washington with the title of Special Coal Strike Mediator, believing he had the president's support to act on his own. Then a White House press release implied that he was doing so in cooperation with federal officials. Pinchot would have known of charges that Coolidge had attempted to snatch credit for action in the police strike from Curtis, and might have concluded this was happening in the coal walkouts. The strike began on September 1, when Lewis called out 150,000 miners. Pinchot did attempt mediation, and on September 7, the two sides agreed to a 10% wage increase, a checkoff, and an 8-hour workday.